He got up, took a couple of steps, and then just fell to the ground. We don't know, of course, the extent of his injuries, but the entire Bills team is out on the field right now. Several players are down on their knees. Other players are holding hands, praying. You can just see the worried looks on their faces. As soon as we have more, Joe, we'll pass it on up to you guys in the booth.
Okay, Lisa, we're going to take a break. They have been administering CPR through these past 2 breaks that we've taken. As Lisa said, Damar Hamlin in studio. Damar Hamlin fell at 8:55:03. Was on his back, and it went from wondering what was going on to wondering about head injury to then them frantically administering CPR to this.
Regroup themselves, and so the game has temporarily been suspended to give them the opportunity. Whatever they need at this point, teams are dragging it.
Which I think they should. You know, this now is up to these players, I think, and these 2 head coaches with what they get sense-wise from their team as to how much they want to go back out there and continue playing this game. I think it's the right call to give them a moment to go back in, away from our cameras, away from this big crowd in Cincinnati, have a chance to regroup, talk. Crowd here's been great, by the way, throughout this. They don't know what's going on. And now these players are going back to their locker rooms, and I assume they'll have a real frank discussion as to whether they want to go back out there and play this game tonight.
Yeah, I would think so too. I don't know. Is that off the table, John? I don't know what the league is saying to you necessarily, but I can't imagine going in and being able to regain any type of composure to where you can come out and expect to play in a competitive football game.
I'm not sure anything's off the table. I think at this point, with what we are working through with the players and teams, I think they're just trying to do what is in the best interest of this athlete.
So we'll step aside. We'll keep you updated. Right now, we'll send it back to the studio and Susie Colbert.
Joe, it's a complete unknown, and it feels like almost an unprecedented.
He went down at 8:55:03. The athletic trainers immediately came out and were all around him. And when they first tried to get him into the ambulance, they had to place him back down on the ground, and that's when the CPR was being administered. And it was administered for many minutes here on the field. And then everybody kind of just stood. It was like people were just in shock, and with good reason, especially down on the field. And then when we got the update that within 5 minutes these players were going to start playing football again, we saw Zach Taylor live walk across the field to Sean McDermott. They talked for a moment. The 2 teams went into their locker rooms, and we are told that if there is any postponement of the game, that will come from New York, from Commissioner Goodell after speaking with these 2 teams. And like they've been saying back at the desk, Troy, and I think it was said best by Boog back there when he said, we're talking about life and death here. We're getting further and further away from talking about football. And you know that these players, everybody down on that field, wants to know the status of Damar Hamlin, which right now we don't have a lot of clarity on before any decision is made to get back out there and play football.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think the players are going to want to or be willing to go out and take the field until they know that he's okay. You said it. They were administering CPR for many, many minutes, and the Buffalo Bills players were surrounding him, watching it all. I just, as a player and as someone who has teammates, and the things that you go throughout the course of a season, and in some instances, in most instances, these players' teammates are they're closer to them than they are some of their own family members. And so there's a lot to it that maybe people just watching the game as fans don't necessarily understand. I just don't know how any of these players can come out and play football tonight.
Let's check in with Lisa.
Well, guys, I can only tell you what I'm able to see and hear back here by the Bills locker room. All of the game officials just came back here. Sean McDermott came out of the locker room, met with the game officials for about 2 minutes. McDermott just went back into the Bills locker room. The officials are still here, but obviously I have no idea what was discussed. I can just tell you what's been taking place back here.
Lisa, thank you. ESPN Bengals reporter Ben Baby says the ambulance left the stadium at 9:25 Eastern. Hamlin's family came down from the stands to be with him in the ambulance. Per Bills reporter Elena Getzenberg, we will continue to monitor. We will continue to pray, hold our breath, as we are in a holding pattern. What just transpired on this field here in Cincinnati. We'll come back with any updates as soon as we get them.
I need to hear that before I can talk about anything else tonight. That's why they go to the locker room, and that's why they suspend this right now. Because we haven't seen a situation like this before. But all that matters is how Damar Hamlin is doing right now. And until we know how he's doing, nothing else matters right now. So everybody can go to the locker room, and we can all await an update and hope and pray that this young man is okay.